The bearded iris that I'm working off of and kind of have in my head is purple. So I'm going to start with some purple. So this is, I think it's a Daniel Smith color. Now I already don't know. My first color on it's Amethyst Genuine by Daniel Smith. So I don't use purple very often. So the fact that I'm kind of itching to do this is kind of surprising, but it is a very mid-tone purple. Oops, I just dipped into indigo. Not at all what I want. Indigo is a very strong color, but let's go with it. Let's do indigo, and this is alizarin crimson. Let's just see if we can get something similar, because I know a lot of you don't have Daniel Smith colors at home. So this is alizarin crimson. See how this is more red tone than this? So I can either try adding a little bit more of this indigo. There we go. So that's a pretty close match. I am going to have alizarin crimson pulled off to the side because I might want one that is a slightly just more pink tone. So I might want to highlight some areas. Let's see. Now the yellow that they had, it's a nice, this is lemon yellow. I'd say this is too saturated, so I'm gonna pull a little bit of yellow ochre into it. So it's nice, a nice golden tone. See how those are, these are like almost exact complements. Oh, so beautiful. I love these two together. I might actually ditch this guy because this right here, oh, that is why we're here, people. Okay, I am gonna need to mix some green. This is my, I think it's Terre Verte. I should have these pulled out. Yeah, so it's the Terre Verte, the yellow shade. It is a like desaturated green tone that is kind of becoming a pain to get out of my pan. And then what is this? I think this is another Daniel Smith tone, but I love how rich, see these colors together? Oh, I love it. So I might even just go with that, but these might be, I try to avoid bright, bright, bright. So I think I do need to desaturate this a little bit. Since I'm already using this yellow ochre in here, I'm gonna repeat it and put it in here and just see how this goes. I don't know if I want to go with this. It'll create kind of a olive tone or like an army green. I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go in or if I want to go with a more blue tone. I think I am going to go with that. It's just a little more understated. If I really want to play around with it, I might add a little bit of indigo just to deepen it a touch. Okay, I think we're going to go with that. So I'm using my Strathmore 300 watercolor series. This is, I'm going to be switching to watercolor brushes. I'm thinking I'm going to use the size 10, which is my biggest that I have here today. I'm also going to pull out my 8. Okay, for something loose, I want to have kind of some movement. And I don't do a very detailed illustration, but I do want to kind of figure out, I want to problem solve on my paper first. So I'm taking a 2B pencil, which is very soft, much softer than I usually use. But my other pencil is, I think, downstairs in my purse. So I don't have it right now. So let's just start with, so I've got kind of this front petal in the iris, this vein in the middle, these 2 petals that kind of go out. I am using a reference image that I will save to my Pinterest board. And so I'm going to have kind of this fun curve. Let's see, do I want the other one to come out? I think I'm going to have kind of a bud here. And I know it's very difficult to see, but I'm not going to be erasing this before I apply the paint, so I don't want it to be too dark. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop here. Let's see, let's zoom in. So this is what I have So I just have kind of a faint outline. This will be my top petal for my iris. Then I have this petal that comes down, the hint of a petal back here. I mostly have the vein so I can kind of see which direction I'm going in. Then I have this stem that goes down. I have a leaf here, a large leaf here, and then I'm going to do a little bud that comes off here. I might do a second one here, but I haven't fully decided yet. I would make it smaller than that, I think. I haven't totally decided yet. Okay, this is a kneaded eraser. I'm just going to kind of lighten some areas. They are designed to either dab or to roll. I use it like a traditional eraser and I just pull. There's no wrong way to use it. Okay, I'm gonna start wet on wet. I do not do a traditional wet on wet. I start with a little bit of pigment. I don't know, I don't have a good reason for that, but that's what I do. And it actually is kind of nice because you can see a little bit more what I'm doing. So the bearded iris has this beautiful texture. That I want to get these like ruffled edges. I should have worked in 2 pieces for this. Now I'm going to take more pigment and just go in on the side. And just let that fade in. A little bit on this little veiny here. So I am leaving some negative space there in the paint just because I want to, with loose watercolor, there isn't the detail in something that's more realistic to help define for the viewer what's going on. So one of the best things that you can do is to leave some negative space there to serve almost as like an outline of your flower, to help define the space for your viewer. So the key is, because this is a little bit more abstract, to kind of go back to the elements and principles of art. We're just working with positive and negative space and color here. A little bit of value. I'm going to darken here because this is going to be a shadow. My paintbrush is kind of eating it. Okay, I'm going to stop there for just a second. I kind of want to pull in a blue, but I think that indigo is a little too dark. I want a little bit of color, but let's try it because we have been using indigo. So I'm just going to kind of drop in some color here. And then a little bit of kind of this alizarin crimson again. Just to kind of highlight some interesting points while the paint is still a little bit wet. Not too much. I don't want it to look like I made a mistake. I kind of want it to be almost invisible to the viewer, but where somebody with a skilled eye would be like, hey, what did she do? Obviously not that part. That was a little more bold. Almost creating some shadows here. Okay, I'm gonna leave that there for now. Just kidding, I lied. I'm gonna add a little more indigo here. Leave that there for now, and then we'll come to back to that one in a few moments. Time to work on this one. This one, we're going to start to work with perspective, so it's going to be a little trickier. I'm going to start with just half of the petal and kind of go in. So big sweep in, little ruffles. Okay, now I don't want it too wet, so I'm going to pick up some of that water. I just want enough there. And again, I'm leaving kind of a negative line here, some negative space. I'm just gonna dab from the outside. And I want a little flick here. in some of our, see, I'm ignoring the first color we made. Maybe I'll take it now. This is a little bit lighter than the original. Oh, I need to sneeze. Excuse me. So I'm actually going to fill this in a little bit more. Not too much. I kind of like that white in the center. Picking up excess water, going back into my pigment. I'm just going to throw this in on the edges because I do want the edges to be nice and dark. But this isn't totally realistic in the fact that normally this would be the lighter and I'm kind of making it the same. All right, a little bit of the indigo to work on to pull out some of these shadow, some of these like little ruffly bits, and my little turned up corner. All right, I'm gonna pull in. Let that kind of bleed in a little bit. Okay, this right here, this section here, I don't know if you can see this texture here. This is called a bloom. In loose watercolor painting styles, it can be used strategically, but I don't love the way it is, so I might try and kind of soften it just a little bit. While this painting style loves a bloom, Katrina's personality does not. Okay, so one more, since this is farther in the back, I want to make sure I'm using the power of aerial perspective, and so I'm going to make it lighter. I'm not going to let it touch these unless I want that to bleed in, and I don't this time. And I'm going to focus on just bringing in some cool colors, some cooler tones in here. This will help to push it towards the back. Okay, so this one is a little trickier because it's going to be from a different angle, more from the back. But I still want to see some of the yellow that we've been playing around with, so all right, let's pull in some of this darker tone. Uh-oh, this already dried. And that's okay, I was kind of fussing with something else, but it does mean I need to wet it again, which is not ideal, but that's okay. Kind of trying to leave this section almost like you're seeing underneath it. You see how I'm trying to get this light like the underside of a petal? I should have planned ahead and not painted that. So this is just some regular bath tissue, boop, to fix my error. Alrighty, so we've got a little bit, and I will mess with that later, but this is starting to, wants to dry on me again. So let's deepen that. And this section I want to kind of bring forward, I'm going to add this little bit of red. Warm colors kind of come forward, cool tones go back. So this will be kind of like a shadow created here, and then some more of this deeper purple. And then before this fully dries, let that kind of bleed a little bit. Not too much. I don't want there to be as much yellow here as here. I want that to kind of be the star of my yellow. I think I'm going to do a wash in the lemon yellow. I got a little too desaturated there. Okay, and then we have a hint of, I'm going to do a cool toned, hint of the last. Okay, and that should just kind of go towards the back nicely. I haven't done my stem yet, so I don't want to, well, I'm going to do a little bit of it anyway. So there would be a sixth and final petal somewhere back here. I can't actually see it in my reference photo, but just to kind of have this, I don't know, ethereal, very whimsical effect, I want to kind of hint at it in the back. Okay, I can already feel I'm starting to fuss with everything a little too much and go a little too realistic. So I'm going to take a step away from that. I'm not going to touch it anymore. And I'm just going to work on getting this stem initially placed in. I'm going to throw a little bit like a shadow of indigo right in here. So intentionally having a darker section. I actually really like that. So let's do it again here. It's not blending the way I want, so I just get it wet again. And I do have this little bud drawn in here, even though it is more of like a yellow tone. But let's do it in the green. And then I like to, if it's a bud, put just a little bit of at the top, like the color that is going to be in the bloom, not only to help define what it is there that I'm painting, but it helps to repeat that color. Okay, and then slowly add in some of this yellow. So a looser style painting is just going to be a little bit more, you're going to rely heavily on design elements and principles and like those truths more than you're going to with something that's a little bit more realistic, because if you're kind of creating your own design rather than mimicking something that has already been, you know, is already living out in creation and is already, I don't know, in nature, it's already kind of has a form that you're kind of mimicking, where this, you're kind of playing around a little bit more. So if you were to look at the bud of an iris, it's very yellow. It's kind of, it almost looks like corn husks, like dried corn husks. Instead of kind of, I have more green in there and I have a little bit more of the purple. So yeah, I mean, like that's just kind of where you can have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more fun. Did I pull the indigo? What am I doing? Okay, green. I need some more green. I know I used this baby, who I love. Oh, I don't know if I talked about this green. Jadeite Genuine. I love it. I have a mini size and I'm getting a big one because I'm almost done with this. A friend gave this to me and that is why I love her. Not really, but it helps. Okay, we're gonna get these leaves in. They're not quite as long. No, they're a lot like tulip leaves, where they're long and they're pokey. But I like them to dance a little, so we're gonna add, that is too green. I need more yellow in that. Oh man. Quick, course correct. More water, and just lay that on top. I need to get a bigger brush, bigger watercolor brush. Okay, while this is still wet, I'm gonna pull in some of this indigo just to help mimic the shadow. So indigo on one side, quickly. And then I'm gonna add a highlight. Come here, some lemony yellow. That's a little too much. I'm trying to kind of mimic this. And this, can you see how that's a little more lemony, where this is a little more desaturated? There we go. So now I have kind of a two-tone. By pushing my brush down and dragging it, I was picking up pigment and water so that it has kind of this, just a different tone. I'm pushing down my brush and pulling it. I'm gonna kind of massage this to kind of help that to blend together. All right, now I'm gonna have a leaf that goes up and behind. I want that to be much lighter. I'm gonna have it be up here. Much lighter, she says, as she puts down a gigantic green streak. I'm gonna just go in, again, pushing and pulling. I'm picking up pigment. All right, now we step back a little bit and we think, okay, what's going on? It looks a little imbalanced because we've got some dark and this is leaning dark. So I might add something here, or I might just kind of deepen this section here. Maybe I will wait till that dries actually. So give it a second, but I'm thinking adding something a little bit darker here, but I still feel like, so if I were to do this again, I would have this leaf come down a little bit more here, but when I cut the piece to fit like an actual frame, like an 8x10, I can kind of shift it a little bit, so that's a little bit more like this, which I think I might like better, and then I might just let this pull out. So this, kind of what I'm doing right now, what I've been talking through with you, is kind of what we talk about in the composition course. It's more just like, okay, what's working, what's not, how can we fix the problems that we see? You know, is it just something as simple as I need to take this out a little bit wider and deepen it just a little bit, almost like some of it is coming towards you, but some of it's still in the background. That might be all that we need. Let's try it. Or it might be like, oh, that didn't work. We'll try again another time. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It really is a lot more fun when there are people commenting and interacting. I don't feel like I'm painting here alone or just talking to myself all the time. So yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys joining me, and until next time, happy painting. Let's see, how do I end this? I don't even know.